It's time to get the clutch and flywheel installed on the M715. Then Kenneth is going to explain a little parts delay.
Starting the install of the flywheel, we're leveraging a set of ARP fasteners for this, where the instructions say to lubricate under the head with the ARP lube, and then Loctite on the threads of the bolts. So just lubricating up my washer as I start this. So grease and then Loctite as specified. I'm going to have just enough, it looks like. Okay. Now, flywheel is next. We're going to put the flywheel on, put the bolts in place, and then torque to 120 foot-pounds. So for this, I'm going to need some assistance to make sure the flywheel stays put. So this is a perfection clutch kit with a very heavy flywheel. No, those are fine. So this needs to be oh gosh. I told you it's a very heavy piece. Now, something is going on here. We're either too high or too low. There we go. Okay, now that looks like we've got alignment on holes. So then, there's one, there's two. Now, the question is, that I can't see because of the shadow in your arm, whether or not the other holes are lined up. It looks like maybe they are. Sometimes these will be keyed to the engine to balance in a particular place, and so they'll have asymmetric holes that have to be lined up. These look like they're okay, so then we just start them out. No knee, ouch. So we just start the rest of the bolts. Well, that one doesn't want to start. There it is. Okay. As if we've got bolts that don't want to start, we may have to move to another position.
Putting the jack under the oil pan?
Well, I was just kind of thinking of what I can do to help support this. I don't think it's going to come over and fall over, but it has lifted that front wheel off the ground. Those are all started. Let's see if I've got a barring tool. So this is a barring tool, B-A-R-R. The idea is you use this to rotate the engine and to hold fast so it does not turn. This works by engaging with the flywheel. So until you have a flywheel, this is not useful. As we are attempting to torque these bolts, the barring tool holds the flywheel so things cannot turn. Okay. And so that engages with the teeth of the flywheel. Like I need to whop that once or twice. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to do this in a couple of stages. 120 is our final torque. We're going to go to 75 first, and then we'll go all the way to 120 for the second. want to do this in a crisscross pattern, basically like you would putting on lug nuts. Okay, that's 75. And now for 120. Double check one last time against our destructions. Yep, 120.
Underlined and in bold.
It is indeed. Okay. Whew. Those are the big, heavy clutch bolts. Now we want to clean our friction plate or our friction surface here, and we can put the rest of the clutch together. Quick clean of the friction surface. A little bit of brake cleaner. This is our pilot bearing. This is actually a bearing. The instructions do state that this is pre-lubricated and does not need any additional grease. This just goes in the hole there. It looks like it is going to be just a little bit of a friction fit. Nice soft-faced hammer. Put that in place. And this is the pressure plate. Same idea. We want to do a quick spritz. Remove any contaminants, dirt, oils from that before installation. This comes with supplied bolts. And the supplied bolts have existing thread locker on them. Now, I'm going to ask my assistant to set down the camera. And the holes are placed in little groups of, or basically 4 groups of 2. And so what you want to do is try to get one started into each of 2 groups. Now, you kind of want to lift up a little bit, take the weight as you're taking these up. These look to be just a 10mm head. The way the bolts are marked, those actually look like they're probably SAE. Apparently my battery in this is going dead. 3928ths, 5/16. All right, torque spec for these, because these are 5/16 diameter bolts, is 17 foot-pounds, which is not very much torque. Now, as this comes in, once we make contact with the flex plate, because we're not actually in contact here yet, we're going to start compressing a spring. We want to make sure that this remains removable. So again, we want to kind of support the weight as we tighten this down. We want to do this evenly. So what I'm going to do is just bring this up until it kisses or is about to kiss the flex plate, no more. And then kind of do so on the opposite sides. Because we want to tighten this evenly. See if I can do this without the wrench. Okay, so those are just to the point of being flush to the flange. Now again, what we want to do is lift the weight, make sure we can remove and reinsert the alignment tool. As we tighten these up. So we'll go like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
2, 3. We count with glee.
1,
Numbers are
2,
fun, as easy as
3.
can be. Counting to 3. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Hopefully at this point the need to continue to support it is disappearing. And that's moving in and out pretty easy. One, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You actually started to see evidence of the pressure.
1 hour later.
And that slides in and out easily. So that is the clutch install complete. All right. Continuing the saga of fun and games as we try to get ready to put the engine into the M715, we'll come down here to our clutch release bearing and release fork. Now, this is the bearing that came with our clutch kit, and this is a release fork that was ordered from Rock Auto as being an appropriate part for a 1992 Dodge W350 with a manual transmission. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out, and I want you to make note of where the clutch release ball is at. This little guy down here, and as we look around the bell housing, realizing that there is no other location that that release ball could be in, and that the opening for the clutch fork is down there at what is the lower right of the frame. Now, the problem here is that this release mechanism is set up to expect the ball to be on the opposite side from the hydraulic piston for the clutch release, which means that when this goes in place, it would expect a clutch ball up here and a release piston down here, or maybe this is 180 degrees out. And the same, it would expect to have a release ball up in this corner to go with the hydraulic piston down here. So this is clearly the wrong clutch fork, clutch release arm for this transmission. Now, as it turns out, this is a part that from Chrysler is no longer available, which absolutely complicates things. And is not readily available in the parts supply chain either. Now, we did find a replacement from a third-party aftermarket. It has been ordered, but it'll be a few days to come. Now, the correct part is actually going to look similar to the fork that is down here on this transmission that is set up for the 63 Buick from the CJ2A. It's going to be a similar design with it's going to be a similar design where we have the pivot down there closer to the end of the fork, pushing this out. So this is going to work in a similar manner in that what we would expect is that the hydraulic cylinder will want to push in the opposite direction of motion. Coming back up and looking at this, looking at where this fork and ball stud is at, and then looking at how the assembly is set up here from the front. Again, this would make sense to have a hydraulic cylinder here, pushing in that direction, pushing in that direction, pushing in that direction to lever this up. So again, what we have is just the incorrect parts and the incorrect configuration to support this. We'll get the right parts here in a week or so, and we'll continue on.